세상 가장 쉬운 응원. 같이 가요. 작은 가게로. 부산 방송광고 발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
We are kicking off October on a bit of an on and off note. So some of you have today off on account of Armed Forces Day being a temporary holiday. For others, it's business as usual. And more of you will have Thursday off for National Foundation Day. So the weather it's also a bit on and off with autumn chills starting to settle in and news of a typhoon approaching our way. But whether it's on or off, it's finally fall, and let's enjoy this season of festivities and festivals. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, the 1st of October on BFM 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, wavers. Oh my goodness. It felt so weird saying October, but it is here, October 1st. Armed Forces Day. And by the way, I see many of our usual wavers checking in with us already on our YouTube channel. So thank you for, waking up so early, even on a holiday like today. And so we are, marking Armed Forces Day and the kickoff to Busan's festival season. It's called 10월. So the most important question for you is probably, do you have to work today or do you have the day off? And if you haven't guessed already, we are live broadcasting right now, live streaming as well. And so this whole festival 10월, so important to what's going on in Busan. And like clockwork, much of the country is seeing chillier temperatures with cooler temperatures settling in Busan starting tomorrow. One aspect we're keeping a close eye on is Typhoon Krathon, or you might have seen it in the Korean news as Krathon. The 18th typhoon of the season formed over the northeastern waters of Manila, the Philippines. It is currently over the southern seas of Taipei. And its course from now on will determine if it will approach South Korea, whether it will continue its path up north toward China, or change direction eastward and then approach South Korea. So if it does approach our way, Busan and Gyeongnam will be in the typhoon's influence, especially on Thursday. So we're hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. As many of you know, that's the best plan. And, you might have to plan your long weekend activities around this typhoon. So once again, we're kicking off October. We're kicking off Busan's festival, 10월. So definitely really exciting. Now it's time for our text topic. Are you ready? So, on your days off, maybe like today, maybe not, but maybe on your day off, do you tend to sleep in? Or do you wake up around the same time? Or maybe you even wake up earlier than usual. Ooh, okay. So, 나는 쉬는 날 평소와 비슷하게 일어나다 versus 늦잠 잔다 versus 평소보다 일찍 눈 떠진다. And I don't get this question. 어떻게 눈이 더 빨리 떠지냐? Okay, I understand the whole 같은 시간, 비슷하게 일어나다, 늦잠 잔다. 근데 평소보다 일찍 눈 떠진다. Maybe I thought about a scenario where maybe you have something planned. 쉬는 날 뭐가 계획이 돼 있으면 눈이 빨리 떠질 수도 있겠네요. Maybe you're so excited. You have something really, really fun planned. Anyhow, you can send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to YouTube, Search for BEFM or 부산 영어 방송, and you can join us in our lively chat room by subscribing, logging in. Also, on your phone, pound 9050 shop 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free on our Kakao Talk channel. Same thing. Search for BEFM 부산 영어 방송, and chat there. You can send photos that way as well. The various ways you can listen to us. We have so many options to make it easier for you, the waivers out there. We have 90.5, 103.3 FM on the radio dial, depending on where you are. And also, like I said, we're live streaming right now on YouTube. You can watch us live, or later at your leisure, we are also available on the Podbang app. Looking ahead to our morning together, we have Andrew with Sports Insider, Bonnie with The Health for our special interview. I think this topic is so interesting. Well, it is autumn. What do they say in Korean? Like 가을의 남자? Like, is this a season of loneliness for men? Well, we're going to tackle this topic. And all the men listening, this might be for you. Are you lonely? Well, we're going to tackle this whole idea of loneliness or lonely lives of men and how that can or cannot be resolved. And by the way, if you're a guy out there, are you lonely? 외로워요. I hope not. But if you are, let us know as well. Maybe we can kind of ease that for you as well. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06. These are today's headlines. South Korea commemorates Armed Forces Day with large military parade. The South Korean military will demonstrate its state-of-the-art forces and joint defense posture in downtown Seoul today in commemoration of the 76th anniversary of the Armed Forces Day. Prosecutors request 3-year prison sentence for Lee Jae-myung. Prosecutors yesterday requested a 3-year prison sentence for main opposition Democratic Party or DP leader Lee Jae-myung for asking a witness at his trial to give false testimony. Ex-Yongsan police chief found guilty in Itaewon crowd crush. District chief acquitted. A Seoul court yesterday sentenced a former chief of Yongsan police station to 3 years in prison over the 2022 crowd crush, while the district's war chief was found not guilty. $799 students, 31 teachers victimized by deepfake videos this year. A total of 799 students from elementary to high school have fallen victim to deepfake videos this year, along with 31 teachers, according to an Education Ministry survey. Israel conducts raids in Lebanon ahead of potential invasion. Israeli special forces have carried out raids in Lebanon territory in preparation for an imminent ground offensive as airstrikes hit inside Beirut city limits early Monday for the first time since October 7th. Incoming Japanese Prime Minister calls snap election. Japan's incoming Prime Minister, Shigeru Ishiba, announced he will disband the parliament and has called a snap election for October 27th. And these are today's headlines. Now it's time to say hello to Haley. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So before we dive into our local updates, let's talk about this whole idea. Do you, on a day off, wake up at the same time, wake up later than usual, or wake up earlier?
I wake up around the same time. I think it's at this point, it's just instinct. My eyes will pop open at like 5:05.
Yes.
But it's nice because I can go back to sleep. And I do for a couple hours. I usually sleep until like 7, 8, maybe 9, like at the latest. But you know who wakes up earlier on days off?
Who?
Kids.
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 Do they?
On weekends, they I don't know. Well, I don't have one, but the kids in
I was
my
gonna say,
family,
your secret
my
kid.
my kids, the ones that I lay claim over.
Yes.
My nephew especially, because he's in elementary school, so he does wake up earlier on weekends. He has such trouble waking up on weekdays, like so much so my sister will video call us because she's a working mom, so she has to go get ready, and she'll set her phone like in his bed as we like yell and like
Wake up!
and be like we'll bang pots like literally
really?
to wake him up.
But on the weekends, no problem.
he's the first one up. It's like why?
Because
Why?
kids don't like going to school.
That's true.
All right, we're going to dive into our first update. There is this move to waive the toll for this highway that runs through the city, or, we should say maybe a second attempt to do so.
So highways in the States, we call them interstates because the whole point is they run between cities or states.
Yes.
That's the principle behind the toll. That's why we have toll booths at the entrance of a city or a county. However, there's a portion of the highway located inside Busan where you are going through Busan, but you have to pay the toll.
Yes.
So this is the area between the Garak IC and Seobusan or Western Busan IC on the Namhae Expressway. And that is a road within Busan City, but you have to pay the toll. Actually, this happened to me over the weekend. So my family, we went to a cafe in Gangseogu.
Okay.
And then I put the navigation in, and it says, because it tells you like the fastest road and the toll, and it said 1,000won. I was like, I'm literally going to Gangseogu. Like, I'm going to Myeong. Like, why?
Within the
why?
city.
Like, why am I paying a toll?
Yes.
And I was like, I'm not crossing a tunnel, but this is why. So, how many people? Well, last year there were 14,000 vehicles that traveled between the Garak and Seobusan toll gates, collectively paying 12.1 billion won.
Yes.
So here's the thing. For people like me, it's a minor inconvenience to get to, an outdoor cafe.
Sure.
But there are 7,000 companies located in Gangseok district. Not all of their employees live there. So many people, either your choice is you pay the toll to go to work or you have to go around. But that involves because there is kind of like the land isn't completely connected right in the area. So you have to
Right.
go up to the point where the land is connected. So you have to detour some 30 kilometers extra. And while gas isn't free,
Yes.
or more importantly, if you are delivering cargo, that's also an additional fee.
Of course.
So there have been efforts to waive that toll in the 21st National Assembly, but that was scrapped upon opposition from the Land Infrastructure and Transport Ministry, as well as the Korea Expressway Corporation.
Yes. But apparently there is another effort to waive this toll.
Right, so this time it's coming from the lawmaker representing Gangseok District, Kim Do-op of the People Power Party.
Yes.
He has reintroduced that bill. So it's a revision of the roads bill that says portions of the expressway that are under 20 kilometers and need to be used in order to distribute traffic. In that case, the country may waive the toll.
I see.
And he also pointed to precedent. So this wouldn't be the first case because there is a portion of the highway between the Hannam and Yangjae in Seoul. But Seoul City was able to get the toll waived by having the operation rights transferred from the land ministry to Seoul City. So
I
it became
see.
not an interstate, quote unquote, highway. So he stated, Kim said that this is a form of regional discrimination to allow it for Seoul but not to Busan.
Yes.
And he's actually going quite strong. If the land ministry does not provide an adequate response, he says he's willing to take that up with the audit board.
Okay, so here's hoping. Second time around.
Maybe. Hoping.
Maybe.
Yes.
All right, moving on. We always welcome additional direct flights out of Kimhae. And now we may see a direct flight to Uzbekistan.
Right. So going back to the land ministry once again,
Yes.
they announced that the two countries this past week agreed to expand their transportation rights with flights. So not only between their respective capital cities, but expanding that to regional airports. Because right now, the only flight to and from Uzbekistan has been between Incheon and Tashkent, the Uzbek capital.
Right.
So this change is expected to not only help with the airport, but also help local businesses open and venture into new markets.
Sure.
There's also potential that Kimhae and other areas may get spillover from this expanded transportation rights. So it's a possibility, and we'll
Yes.
definitely keep you updated.
All right, more good news. Next up this week is many things, one of which is the 2024 Busan Finance Week.
Right. So this this is an event that's hosted by Busan City in conjunction with Bexco and other various financial institutions and organizations. So this week or this weekend event, it offers various classes, seminars, and lessons on financing, investment.
Yes.
It has gone on in the past, but this is the biggest ever in terms of the scale and the number of classes that are being offered. And it is key this year because investments, whether it be in real estate, especially in stocks, even cryptocurrency, they have become very common amongst just average citizens as well. But that makes getting correct financial information, or at least having the ability to discern credible financial information versus just like rumors and other attempts, more important than ever because it is your hard-earned money.
True.
So the events will go on from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on October 4th and 5th at Bexco. And good news, it's free. Yes.
Free is good.
Yes.
And it's valuable information. Go check it out. And lastly, today is the opening of Festival 10월. It's finally here.
It is. So
Yes.
Festival 10월 is two things. It's a convergence of all of the festivals that are happening in early October. So that would
Yes.
be the Busan International Film Festival, the International Rock Festival, so on and so forth. There are, I believe, 17 events going on across film, music, culture, food from today to October 8th. But then at the same time, there is a separate festival, 10월, going on, especially at Bexco.
Okay.
So the opening of that festival, 10월, at the 10월 Village at Bexco will take place today at 7 p.m. So it'll kick off with a declaration from Mayor Park Hyung-jun along with the Korea, ASEAN or ASEAN fashion show and a performance by the crossover group Forestella.
Ooh.
And during this period, you will be able to visit various countries' booths. They'll have themed pavilions, multiple food trucks and vendors. And I believe one of our guests is featuring his business there as well, along with multiple musical performances, including, I kind of want to be there from 7 p.m. almost every night, a nighttime silent music and dance festival. So bring your smartphone and wireless headphones and you can make a fool out of yourself as I will.
And
Potentially.
maybe we'll see each other.
Maybe we will.
Maybe we'll see the waivers there. Maybe. Well, thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
All right, now it's back to you. The waivers on a day like this. Some of you might have the day off, maybe you don't. But on a day off, do you tend to sleep in versus wake up around the same time versus wake up earlier than usual? 자, 나는 쉬는 날 평소와 비슷하게 일어나다 versus 늦잠 잔다 versus 평소보다 일찍 눈 떠진다. Which one are you? All right, here's your traffic and weather. It is now time for your traffic report. It is now 7:17. Slow on the Dongso overpass from the Jinyang ramp to the old Kegum tollgate. Also, the roads are fairly open elsewhere across the city, not surprising. Currently 20 degrees Celsius under clear skies. The daytime high is going to go up to 29 today with clouds rolling in the afternoon. Looking at the weather nationwide, it's going to be kind of cloudy with rain coming down in the capital area. The rain is going to expand southward later today. So temperatures will drop considerably tomorrow after the rain. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
now time for the news. So we're going to dive into our first bit of news. Today is obviously Armed Forces Day. And the biggest challenge for the armed forces is, of course, the declining population, which significantly then diminishes the so-called manpower behind the armed forces.
Right, or that comprises
Yes.
the armed forces. So as the younger population, especially the population of young men,
Yes.
is decreasing, well, in their place, seniors may be stepping up and stepping in. So we're talking about the senior Army. It's a civilian reservist force comprised of people in their middle ages and seniors and elderly groups. So this group was founded in June of last year. And in the year and 3 months since its foundation, some 2,000 people have joined that reservist force. So their goal is to become this voluntary armed force, which would potentially go into battle during times of war, hold regular training for any possible mobilization,
Right.
and act as voluntary service force in any times of need. So they have started holding annual training in conjunction with the Defense Ministry for their physical capacity. So they held 2 pilot programs for training last year, and their regular training has become kind of an official thing under the Defense Ministry. So the ministry is looking into a way for these senior Army members to be able to use bases that have been shut down for their training. And People Power Party lawmakers Hong Il-jong, who also chairs the Parliamentary Defense Committee, said that with the decline in young soldiers and those in their 50s and 60s
Yes.
being healthy thanks to medical advancements, they could serve in roles like guard posts, so like guarding and security capacity in a form of civilian contracted security.
I see. Well, so while we're on the topic of this whole Armed Forces Day, there is a military event planned in downtown Seoul, but there have been reports that a couple of soldiers were injured during the rehearsal.
Right. So there is this large military parade planned in Seoul, central Seoul today,
Yes.
with roads being blocked off, and people are encouraged to take public transportation if you are in that
Right.
area. But in the practice and the rehearsal process, there have been injuries. So according to Reform Party lawmaker Chon Ha-ram, a Marine Corps member fainted. He passed out during the marching practice because they have their weapons. He hit his chin on the gun and had to be hospitalized for treatment. Another Special Forces member, he fractured his ankle during a rehearsal for the Taekwondo demonstration, and he actually had to get surgery. And this also happened 2 years ago, that time with 9 different people getting injured in various capacity. 5 were from Special Forces, including fractured when they had to do an aerial jump demonstration, and the landing didn't go as planned.
Right. So with soldiers getting injured, there are questions as to why they're holding these types of events or marches in the first place.
Right, because the point of Armed Forces Day, of course, is to show off the country's readiness and military capacity.
Yes.
But also to boost morale and, dragging them out to rehearsals and, these events may not be the best way, some might say. Also, these marches, they usually conventionally take place every 5 years. But then, as I mentioned, the injuries happened 2 years ago as well. So why? Well, actually, they didn't happen at all, the military marches, during the previous Moon Jae-in administration. Of course, a bulk of that administration was spent in the COVID years.
Yes.
However, under the Yoon administration, they've made a comeback, definitely more frequent.
Yes.
So the Defense Ministry last year explained that this was to increase ease the security concerns as these geopolitical global wars were happening in Russia, Ukraine, and then in Gaza.
Yes.
But then here's the thing, military marches, any event requires funding. Taxpayer money.
Indeed.
The budget for this year's march alone is 7.9 billion won. Last year, it was 10.1 billion won. So some people point out that, perhaps using that money to actually improve the soldiers' working conditions and the welfare might be a better way to boost morale.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about job numbers this year, especially with self-employed persons.
Right. So the ratio in terms of people who are getting paid, who have jobs, the ratio of
Yes.
self-employed persons or business owners, so 자영업자, that fell below the 20% line for the first time ever in the country.
Yes.
Then this is without any significant changes further in the rest of the year, that rate will likely stay and be fixed for 2024. So self-employed or business owners, they are a huge part of South Korea's economy, especially larger in proportions compared to the other advanced economies in the OECD.
Sure.
So the peak began actually in 1963 when record-taking began. And that point, 37% of all employed persons were self-employed or business owners. And that's been declining ever since to 19.7 this year. On the other hand, wage workers have been on the rise. So basically what you would think of as like 직장인 from 31% back in 1963 to 77% this
So
year.
we have all the numbers.
Right.
What does this say about our economy, though?
Right. So whenever we say like businesses are, decreasing, you might be thinking, oh, well, are they like declaring bankruptcy? Are they shutting
Right.
down? Well, overall, experts say that this may be a good sign for the economy. Of course, in this decline, we are talking about some people who have had to shut down their businesses, but it does point to overall job availability and job security and hiring. So experts say that it's important to discourage unprepared businesses or startups and focus on innovative startups that would be better for the economy.
I see. Okay. So that makes sense, though. I
right,
see.
right.
Availability and security of jobs. Okay. At the same time, the ratio of people who are taking time off from the workforce, that apparently has reached an all-time high.
Right. So last month, that figure, people who just aren't seeking employment and that are taking time off, that came to 2.56 million with a huge increase for young people in their 20s.
Yes.
And maybe a really good sign, an indicator of the tough economic times could be seen via unpaid or overdue cell phone bills.
Oh.
Because, well, phones, they're the one thing that pretty much everyone has.
Sure.
And it's not a luxury, it's definitely a necessity. And being unable to pay that bill, which isn't, in the grander scheme of things, isn't much.
But it tells you a lot.
But it tells you a lot
Yes.
about how a person's everyday finances might be.
Yes.
So according to numbers compiled from domestic telecom providers, some 39,000 overdue bills in the amount of 5.8 billion won came from those in their 20s. So this isn't 39,000 people per se, but in terms of the monthly bills.
Okay.
So that was the highest increase in the entire country. The second place was followed by people in their 30s. So definitely younger people kind of struggling to make ends meet.
Apparently, not good. All right, we're going to talk about our last story. This is about recycling. It kind of does go in hand with what we were talking about in the special interview about like plastic recycling. But, most of us, I hope, we're taking the time to separate our trash, the recycling and throwing them out properly. However, there's a question. Have we been doing this in vain? Have we?
I did.
Oh, please say no.
Right,
'cause,
I know.
like-
Well, at first glance, we seem to be doing really well as a country when it comes to
Yes.
recycling. So I'm citing the Environment Ministry numbers from 2021,
Okay.
where it said about 56% of plastic waste thrown out in South Korea was recycled. That's not bad, not
That's
bad.
pretty high.
Much higher than, say, Europe's 40%.
Okay.
But we always have to approach it with a grain of salt because statistics can be biased, can tell different stories depending on how we're defining recycling.
Okay, here we
That was a
go.
bit of a trick.
Okay.
The Environment Ministry also factored in the plastic that was used as energy retrieval via incineration.
What does that mean?
Basically, they burned it. So they're counting in plastic that was burned to be used as form of fossil fuel, which, yes, technically it was recycled, it was reused, but
That's not what we think of when we think of
the real
recycling.
sense of being green and
Yes.
well, if you're burning them literally to use them as fossil fuels,
Emissions.
That's not what I signed up for when I was
Yes.
tearing off the labels off all my bottles.
Exactly.
And so when a team from Chungnam National University recalculated the figures to things that were actually recycled.
I'm scared.
I know. Hold on to your, fainting salts. The plastic waste that was actually recycled came to 16.4%.
16.
16, not 60.
16.
16.4. All right, but let's not get discouraged. Let's not be too hard on ourselves because it is actually better than the rest of the world, with the United Nations putting the actual recycling rate globally at 9%. I mean, but like
But
just
still.
because everyone else is doing badly, it's not an excuse for us to do badly, but it is what it is. So with the rest of the plastic, so we're looking at about 310 million ton per year. They, they're burned or they go back into landfills where they threaten wildlife or break into microplastics and
Yes.
potentially affect our health. So there are some solutions like chemical recycling, which completely breaks down the plastic to their raw materials, but that also requires energy to do that process as well. So as our expert said yesterday, and I strongly, if you haven't, urge you to listen to that interview from yesterday.
Yes.
It really does go back to us using less plastics to begin with, companies being more responsible and sustainable as they promised.
And we need to educate ourselves.
Right.
Right.
And governments, of course, holding everyone accountable.
All right. Final story. It's about a couple other new national holidays. Really?
They're not like red days, but they're, I know.
You gotta be happy for no reason. The big smile.
It's a cycle. Our
Okay.
producer sent me that link and I was like, oh, 진짜요? And she's like, 아니요. And this is what's happening. All right.
Well,
All right.
let's find out.
But important
Okay.
days nonetheless. May 15th, King Sejong's birthday.
Oh.
Which is why, by the way, Teacher's Day is on May 15th because he is like the greatest teacher of all.
Yes.
Yes. And then May 27th, Aerospace Day. 우주항공의 날. So the Ministry of the Interior and Safety, they're going through this legislative announcement process for the holidays to commemorate what they mean. Once again, they're not days off, but we can now we'll be able to see these nationwide celebrations on pan-governmental levels, celebrating hunger and the spirit of this great king, also raising awareness about space exploration and how that affects us.
Well, good to know.
Maybe we will get days off. Maybe in the future.
I was thinking, at least for King Sejong. Maybe.
I know, he was a great king. Why can't we celebrate by sleeping in?
I know. Even though we won't. Even though you and I will wake up at the same time.
We
but
jest.
It's okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
All right. Now it's time for a song break. So are you ready? This is 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and I'm homebound. Staring blankly ahead, just making my way through the crowd. And I need you, and I miss you, and now I wonder if I could fall into the sky. Do you think time would pass me by? 'Cause you know I'd walk 1,000 miles if I could just see you tonight. There's always times like these when I think of you, and I wonder if you ever think of me. 'Cause everything's so wrong and I don't belong, living in your precious memory. 'Cause I need you and I miss you. Now I wonder if I could fall into the sky. Do you think time would pass me by? Oh, 'cause you know I'd walk 1,000 miles if I could just see you tonight. Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and I'm homebound. my way, making a way through the crowd. And I still need you, I still miss you. And now I wonder if I could fall into the sky. Do you think time would pass us by? 'Cause you know I'd walk 1,000 miles if I could just see you. If I could fall into the sky, do you think time would pass me by? 'Cause you know I'd walk 1,000 miles if I could just see you. If I can just hold you tonight.
Welcome back. It was just everybody was singing along to that song. Were you not? I was. And we're talking about the fact that it is October. We're seeing cooler temperatures. I love it. I love the fact that, last night it was a little warm during the day. So I had the windows open. I cracked open the windows even during the evening hours. I was at nighttime trying to fall asleep. And it was just so nice having that breeze come in, right? Some people I hear have turned on heating pad. Oh, really? 정말 전기장판 벌써 켰나요? Well, and by the way, when you take a shower, like during summer, be honest, you had it on the fully cold mode. I don't know. In our apartment, we live in a kind of a bigger apartment, like a many units kind of bigger apartment. When I had it on cold, it was still kind of like lukewarm during summer because it was so hot. And then now I have it kind of towards the middle, where it's like warm. I like that warm shower nowadays because it's October. Well, the government's contemplating another hike in electricity rates for the fourth quarter. I'm hitting you with some bad news. So those in the industry are apparently projecting a hike within the year. And this is because household electricity rates have stayed the same for the past year and 4 months, and industrial rates since last November. But the government had to hit pause on any hikes due to the April elections, followed by this long, hot summer. But given the Korea Electric and Power Corporation, or KEPCO's massive deficits, coupled with growing demand from cutting-edge technology, experts say that a hike may be inevitable. So, of course, nothing has been decided for certain, but it will definitely be something that interests and concerns all of us. So back to you, the waivers. Text topic time. On your days off, whether it's today or not, do you tend to sleep in versus wake up around the same time versus wake up earlier than usual? 자, 나는 쉬는 날 평소와 비슷하게 일어난다 versus 늦잠 잔다 versus 평소보다 일찍 눈 떠진다. So I was kind of curious about the third option. 정말 일찍 눈 떠지는 사람 있나 했는데요. I found one. Young Waver says, good morning, Kat. It's going to get a little cold on my day off. It's my day to eat a lot of junk food, he says. So this makes me wake up earlier. 오늘 같은 날. Oh, it's kind of your cheat day. Oh, Young. So I asked him separately through Kakao Talk, so what kind of food are we talking about? And he says, everything you can imagine, pizza, hamburgers, and lots of cola, fried chicken, fries, etc. I am already hungry. Young님, it's only 7:38, but now that you have everybody hungry, oh my goodness. So you woke up especially early just so you can get an early start on the morning. Drift Monkey says, sleep all the way in until my body wakes itself up. Oh, is that what you do? I envy people like that. For me, it's I really want to sleep in. I go to bed at sometimes at 1 or 2 a.m., on a Friday, and I tell myself, Kat, sleep in tomorrow. Kat, sleep in tomorrow. So I do. I sleep in, I open my eyes, and it's 4:30 again. So that's me. Anyhow, let's get to Kat's pick for today. For today's Kat's pick, oh my goodness, when I saw this story, I could just not stop smiling. But you let me know what you think too. I want to focus on an 80-year-old South Korean woman named Choi Soon-hwa. She is the oldest finalist for the Miss Universe Korea pageant. Let's get to the clip from CNN.
This is a story of how stunning self-confidence, reinvention, and total perseverance, decades in the making, can lead to revolutionary change. Meet the sensation that is Choi Soon-hwa. At 80, she's the oldest contestant to reach the finals of Miss Universe Korea. Choi used to be a full-time medical caregiver, and it was one of her patients who told her she needed to become a model.
제가 어릴 때부터
I was really interested in acting and fashion since I was a child, but I forgot all about them during my life. But when my patient said that, my childhood dream came alive at once. My ears just immediately opened up.
One day, Choi spotted a senior silver model on a TV show. So she called the TV station and got the name of the academy where the model learned to build couture confidence.
좋습니까? There we go. Okay.
Now, Choi is the instructor, trying to teach me the walk. Of course, it's the student who's the problem. And Choi told us how she perfected her approach during late-night caregiving breaks.
제가 70
I've never walked in straight lines until the age of 17. So model walking, posing, and smiling were really difficult. I practiced walking, posing, and smiling every night from midnight to 1:30 a.m. or sometimes as late as 2 a.m. for 2 years.
This is the rehearsal for Monday's Miss Universe Korea competition. It's Choi and 31 others vying for the chance to compete at this year's Miss Universe pageant in Mexico. It's the first year Miss Universe has dropped age limits, paving the way for Choi to enter, strike a pose, and vogue. As for her message to the world,
또 내가 하고 싶은 일
You have to do what you wanted to do, the things that you gave up to raise your kids. You have to do that when you're old. And when you do that, you'll be super happy and encounter happiness at every moment.
Wow, I want to take a page out of her book. The fact that she's following through on her dream at the young age of 80. And she looks so great. I usually don't like judging people by their outer appearance, but it is a beauty pageant. How can you not? She looks so healthy and happy, for goodness sake. So I want to say kudos to her. But what do you think about this whole idea, though? 80 years old, the rules have changed. Your marital status doesn't matter. And you can be 80 years old to qualify for Miss Universe. What do you think? This was Kat's Pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for Sports Insider, aka Andrew's in the house. How are you?
Not bad.
Considering you almost didn't make it here.
Oh no!
Tell your
For a
story,
listener,
come
yeah,
on.
no. So
About the whole waking up early on your day off. What happened?
Obviously, it is a holiday. If you're here, and I
For
heard you
some people,
yeah,
most
I heard,
people.
I heard, yeah, for most
Yeah.
people, I heard you
Yeah.
speaking about it earlier.
Yes.
And my alarm, I set it, and I always set a couple alarms just in case, So
We all do.
It went off, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" Turn that off. Uh-huh. And then that was fine, and because I thought, "Oh, yeah, I don't have to go anywhere today."
Really? It's a red
And then,
day.
like 3 minutes later, another alarm went off, and I was like, "Oh shoot!" I was
Radio.
like, "Yeah," I was like, "I gotta get out of
Radio's
here."
live. Let's go.
Exactly. So I was like, but it's one of those things where you think you woke up late, but it wasn't that bad. So I said it was only a mild heart attack.
I know, but
it was like,
like in Korea, what is it called? 식은땀? Like when you like realize you're like, oh no, I do have to.
yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh.
And I
Yes.
jumped up kind of quick, and then my dog was like, "Arr," and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, exactly.
It's called
I feel the same
scaring
way,
the
dude.
bejesus out of you.
I feel the same way.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are here for sports.
Yes.
We have a few things to get to today. Actually, there's a lot going on in the sporting world, but I think our stories are going to cover everything that we need to. So we're going to start off with something that kind of, I want to say we knew was going to get more interesting, I guess, before it went away, if
Yeah.
this is an easy way to put it. And that is talking about the appointment of, or the controversial appointment of men's national football head coach Hong Myung-bo.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in a press conference yesterday, where the focus was totally supposed to be on the naming of the 26-man
The
squad.
roster.
Yeah, which is usually a big event. People want to know
Yes.
who's on it, who's not.
Yeah, who made it and
are there,
who's off.
Are there any injuries that
Yeah.
people might be late additions, whatnot?
Exactly.
For the World Cup qualifiers, I was going to say next month, but this month, I can't believe it's already
I know, it's
October.
October.
Against Jordan and Iraq. Now, he said, I wanted to say a lot of things at the National Assembly last week because they had their in-person hearing, but ultimately, I didn't get to do it. And he was explaining this because he was asked, and his first response was, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that, I'm having to talk about this right now. And he said that, personally, I felt I've been unfairly criticized. I heard from the KFA that they had gone through the proper process, and I had received the highest mark among candidates, so that's why I accepted the job. But I heard different things at the National Assembly this time. So I think maybe he came out and said this to possibly get a little bit of sympathy from the fans out there who were not giving him any sympathy at that first home game
was
in
pretty
Seoul against
brutal.
Palestine.
Yeah.
So I think, it is ultimately the KFA's decision. So, I mean, he didn't decide for them, hey, I'm going to be the coach. They decided it.
Yes.
But we're kind of wondering what
happened behind the closed doors?
exactly.
Right. And so it's not just the KFA or, the National Assembly, but someone a little higher up that's
Yeah.
also vested in this
Yeah, the
apparently
bat
now.
phone
Yes.
rang and someone had to pick it up. So President Yoon Suk-yeol instructed the sports ministry to uncover the truth behind the appointment of the national football team's head coach and come up with measures to enhance transparency in the hiring process. Now, I don't know if this is he obviously in his office realizes, the presidential office realizes this has become a pretty big deal. Maybe we should get involved, and I don't know if it's going to help their image or not, depending on which way it goes.
Right.
It is a tricky subject because if it turns out that there was some, shady business going on, it's probably going to look bad on
And the
his
thing
administration.
is, the transparency
Yeah.
or lack thereof
Yeah,
is
zero.
what's so frustrating
Yeah.
because people, athletes, literally die to get on the national team for any country. Like
100%.
that's like their ultimate goal if you're in elite sports.
Yeah, and the other thing is that all of the international managers, the foreign managers, if you will, that they were interviewing,
Yes.
went through a rigorous process.
Exactly.
And even before with Jurgen Klinsmann, that was very transparent. Why they chose him, all this kind of stuff. A former World Cup winner, everything. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. But yeah, so this year, he went on to say the national team should be a source of pride for the people of Korea.
Yes.
When it comes to selecting the coach of the national football team, which receives great attention and love from the public, the process must be fair and carried out responsibly from the beginning. But the
From the
thing is,
beginning.
tomorrow we're going to get some interim results of what went on last week.
We need some answers.
I didn't realize it was a 12-hour questioning period.
They grill you.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes.
All right. Well, we'll wait on that. Let's move on to our next topic. Does this have anything to do with what I sent you over the weekend?
Yes. So, why did I just lose the clip?
Oh, no.
This is it.
Okay.
So that is from
Okay, what is
from
this? I know
the
what it's about.
President's Cup, the USA versus the world, other than
Minus
Europe.
Europe.
Minus Europe.
Because that's
that is
Ryder Cup.
the Ryder Cup,
Yes.
exactly. So for anybody who follows golf,
Yes.
these tournaments are, I don't want to say they're golf, but they're not in a sense where
It is so different. I
it's
love it.
so amazing. And it
I
also
love it.
the Solheim Cup on the women's side is exactly the
Solheim,
same.
yeah.
Is exactly the same.
I watched that too.
I love it
couple weekends
because
ago.
for one, you get to see the characters of each golfer.
Because, okay, normal golf tournament, which you've gone to personally, I've, in the States.
the
like,
etiquettes, and
the
I'll have my tea with my
and the
pinky out.
rules and
Yeah.
drinking your tea like this, right? And then you get to something like come
And
on.
for our listeners who couldn't
So
hear that,
much
they were
fun.
talking about Tom Kim. They were saying Tom Kim's on fire.
Yes.
The USA is terrified.
Right.
Was unbelievable. And Tom Kim was, or if not, is still the character of the PGA. And the previous President's Cup
Right.
is where people found out about him.
So, like, who is he?
Yeah, he
Who
was
is this, like, young buck, right? Like,
the over celebration of
Yes.
everything.
Right.
Is having fun.
Right.
You get to see the golfers in their element, and the golfers are, for one, extremely proud to be selected to their teams, but realize that they got to play it up for the home crowd. Now, obviously,
Yes.
he's Korean, but
Yeah.
they were playing in Montreal, so
International team,
it's-
yeah,
so it's the international team's
Yes.
home crowd. So it was pretty amazing. So despite dramatic point swings and bubbling tensions, I think that's an understatement,
Right.
that threatened to spill over, the President's Cup ended, as it always has for the last 19 years, with the USA triumph. But it didn't have to go that way. It was really close at one
because
point.
day one, it was like 5-0 USA. Day two was 5-0 international team.
Yeah.
So day three, it was like really, really exciting to
Yeah,
watch.
after day one, a lot of people were like, well, do we even need to see the rest of it?
I tuned in all 4 days, can you tell?
But, and I
Yes.
watched a lot of it as well, but
Yes.
like Tom Kim came out and said, we were hoping for the home crowd to be a little bit more, let's say, rambunctious.
Yeah, boisterous. And they were day two, though.
Day one, they weren't. Day two, when they came out, it was,
heard him.
it was awesome. So this
Yes.
was at the Royal Montreal Golf Club. Unfortunately, it ended up being 18.5 to 11.5. But, and
That score, it's not really telling of like how some of the matches were really close though.
They
to
were,
watch, yeah.
but it also, I feel that the final day where the singles, I think it could have gone, maybe should have gone a different way. I also feel that when you're playing with a teammate all week,
Yeah.
and then you go to singles, it's a big change because
Right.
you don't necessarily have that guy right beside you. And there's a lot of talk, a lot of stuff that goes on back and forth between the golfers.
Yes.
Especially you saw with Tom Kim and Kim Shu, the Kims.
Yes.
They were calling them the Kims.
The Kims.
The Kims. So, there's, to pick them back up after they miss a putt or something like that. But it was pretty amazing to watch, Tom Kim and Scotty Scheffler, go at it back and forth. I have a clip, but we don't really have time for the clip because I want to get to our last story.
Okay.
But it was, they said that, maybe Kim poked the bear, but, Scheffler shrugged it off and he said, hey, we're friends after, we're not friends during.
I know, because
Which is awesome.
they're really close off.
Yeah, they golf in the
course.
same place. They're
I
home
know,
course,
they
the same
work out
place.
together.
Exactly.
And then, did you see Shu with the night?
Oh yeah, night. Go to sleep one.
And Curry,
Yeah.
like,
There's so many clips that
responded.
don't work on radio that I wanted to use.
Yes. All right. Final story.
Yeah, about the MLB. I have a question
Yes.
for you. All right. So, what goes better with baseball than beer?
I don't know. I always think like baseball, beer, chimek?
The correct answer is free beer.
Free. Oh, sorry.
All right,
My brain didn't go that far.
Are we able to get the picture up there?
Okay,
All right,
okay.
I got a picture that we're going to put up here. So Chicago
Yes.
Chicago Cubs fans know a thing or two about patience. All right, after the longest drought in pretty much professional sports
Yes.
history. 108 seasons before they were able to win the World Series
Yes.
again. And despite a rather underwhelming season, they still had the sixth highest average home attendance in the MLB with over 35,000, close to 36,000 people
Okay,
every
okay.
game. Now, to show his appreciation for the Cubs faithful, left fielder Ian Happ chucked a ball into the crowd in left field. And the people thought, oh, he's just throwing us a ball. It was wrapped in $100 bills.
Nice. Why?
Yeah. So we're going to get to a picture here that
Okay.
you can see. And this is the fans, all right? This is from the Bleacher Bums Instagram page, which is pretty amazing.
What does it say?
And it says on it, thanks for the support all season. Beers for the left field crew on me. Pretty amazing. I thought that was pretty
nice.
amazing. That's like they're all the fans. I'm pretty sure they're season ticket holders or whatnot, and they're
Right.
always there. And the guy that got it, they just didn't didn't think it was going to be like that. But yeah, but I don't know how many hundreds were wrapped around that because usually beers at a baseball park are not the cheapest.
Chuck a baseball covered with $100 bills to our waivers if I could.
Yeah.
I would.
And I'd throw, 10 chananjari or something like that. Maybe, you can get
Throwing money. We would get our money gun, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for going over all the sports and ending it on such a happy note.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Love it. Free beer.
It's something that you see, or you don't see too often, and I'm sure that those, the faithful there in left field were loving life after that.
I mean, what a cool way to reward the fans. Well, we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Andrew.
Have a good one.
And here is Yo-Yo by Sohee, requested by Drift Monkey.
지난 눈을 감아 또 머릿속에 남아 Wait for me, I wait for you 실컷 놀다 결국 네 손 Like a yo-yo, yo-yo 너무 빠르게 up and down 뒤끝 없이 Like a yo-yo, yo-yo 숨이 가쁘게 spin 숨 쉴 틈도 없이 Change yo, 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 yo Say I wanna yo, yo yo, wanna get you, yo. Ooh, I'll be waiting for you. I'll be chasing you, yo. Say I wanna, yo. Wanna get you, yo. Ooh, I'll be waiting for you. I'll be chasing you.
You right up blow 누군가 놀라가기 위해 버는 give me room 어디 탐피 사람들이 모여다만 가져가는 대로 따라 들어가는 게 미국을 그 동굴 안에 표지판은 언제부터 다른 너부 자꾸 내게 걸나 쟤네 말도 빨고 두개 낫겠어 더 많아게 내 앞길을 바꾸려 하더라
죽을 듯이 달려봐야 넌 또 날 비웃지 그래도 어쩔 수 없어 너의 차트를 떠오르지 Wait for me, I'll wait for you 언젠가는 맨 꼭대기 Like a yo-yo 너무 빠르게 up and down 뒤끝 없이 Like a yo-yo 숨이 가쁘게 spin 숨 쉴 틈도 없이 Change yo Say I wanna yo Wanna get you yo Ooh, I'll be waiting for you I'll be chasing you yo Say I wanna yo Wanna get you yo
Okay, 잠깐만요. Okay. Hi, Professor. This is Catherine. How are you? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me. Great,
Yep.
great. So I do want to confirm.
I can hear you, so you can hear me. I'm trying to
Yes.
figure out how to turn my volume down. It's not going down.
It's not going down.
No.
Is it my voice that's too loud for you right now?
Yeah, it's coming through very loud, and I can't turn it down apparently.
Well, first,
In fact-
can you turn on the video because we have to get the
Oh,
optics
sorry,
up?
yeah.
For during our
Yep,
test
I
call. Okay.
I forgot my video was off.
Okay, so in terms of the volume, is there not a setting in the Zoom link, like the actual the app, the program? Hold on a second.
option.
볼륨을 어떻게 조절하냐? 내 목소리가 너무 크게 나는데 자기가 어떻게? 아니 그러니까. Okay, so maybe it's a setting on your computer.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yes. 그거 얘기했어요. 지금. 네.
The applications.
Usually, like at the bottom of your screen, Professor, I mean, all computers are different, but there's like a little hidden icon where you can adjust the volume level. It's usually on the right side, lower right side.
So I'm using a Mac,
Ah.
so it's not on here. Let me see. Is it this? So I'm in. This is this GarageBand stage sound. No. Stage manager. Nope, I don't want that.
Okay, so while I have you on the test call, I have to let you know because I got to go back to my live show in a couple seconds. What's going to happen is we're going to go live with you in about 22 minutes. Our producer will remind you to. We would like you to mute yourself after a test call and then
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded.
What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. South Korea commemorates Armed Forces Day with large military parade. The South Korean military will demonstrate its state-of-the-art forces and joint defense posture in downtown Seoul today in commemoration of the 76th anniversary of the Armed Forces Day. The Hyunmin-5 missile, capable of carrying a warhead weighing up to 8 tons, will be shown for the first time along with the U.S. Air Force's B-1B Lancer bomber to serve as a warning to North Korea in light of recent provocations. Significant road closures in central Seoul are scheduled today for the parade. Prosecutors request 3-year prison sentence for Lee Jae-myung. Prosecutors yesterday requested a 3-year prison sentence for main opposition Democratic Party or DP leader Lee Jae-myung for asking a witness at his trial to give false testimony. He was indicted last year on charges of demanding a secretary of a former Seongnam City mayor on multiple occasions to give false testimony on a 2018 election law violation case involving him. Lee has accused the prosecution of manipulating the charges and evidence against him. The court will issue its verdict on November 25th. Ex-Yongsan police chief found guilty in Itaewon crowd crush, district chief acquitted. A Seoul court yesterday sentenced a former chief of Yongsan police station to 3 years in prison over the 2022 crowd crush that left 159 people dead, while the district's war chief was found not guilty. For ex-police chief Lee Im-jae, the court said that the large crowd gathering could have been anticipated, finding him guilty of professional negligence resulting in death. However, district office chief Park Ki-young and other officials were found not guilty, with the court finding related law and regulations did not require them to come up with safety measures for events without organizers. The bereaved family members of the victims held a press conference in front of the court denouncing the ruling that acquitted Park. 799 students, 31 teachers victimized by deep fake videos this year. A total of 799 students from elementary to high school have fallen victim to deep fake videos this year, along with 31 teachers, according to an Education Ministry survey yesterday. A total of 504 damage reports were filed with schools, and 417 have been referred to authorities for investigation. In the meantime, the mobile app Telegram has promised the state media and telecommunications watchdog that it will enforce a zero-tolerance policy against deepfake sex crimes and will delete content promptly at the agency's request. Israel conducts raids in Lebanon ahead of potential invasion. Israeli special forces have carried out raids into Lebanese territory in preparation for an imminent ground offensive. Airstrikes hit inside Beirut's city limits early Monday for the first time since October 7th. Israel has told the U.S. it plans to launch a limited ground incursion into Lebanon as soon as Monday, according to a U.S. official. Hezbollah said it would choose a leader to succeed Nasrallah as soon as possible and vowed to continue fighting Israel in support of Palestine. Incoming Japanese Prime Minister calls snap election. Japan's incoming Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba announced he would disband the parliament and has called a snap election for October 27th. 67-year-old Ishiba will be approved as Prime Minister in Parliament on Tuesday local time and appoint his cabinet later the same day. The incoming Prime Minister said that the new administration must be judged by the people as quickly as possible, although opposition parties criticized this decision as a ruling party trying to run away from the political funds scandal. And this was News Highlights. It is now time for Waggle Waggle. We have Haley back in the studio.
Good morning again.
And by the way, I want to address the elephant in the room. Hot mic. So actually, maybe our listeners, you got kind of a look or hear a listen into what goes on because people
When
are
the
very
sound's
curious
off.
when the
Right,
sound's
right.
off. And today, I'm so happy. Like she got down a little bit because like nothing was said that shouldn't have been said. Because sometimes we say things off air.
Sometimes we do.
Sometimes we do, but not this time. Thank goodness we are only talking about
Official
interview.
things, yes.
All right. Now we're going to dive into. I hear you have some like breaking news,
we
right?
do. So kind of an update to our news highlights about Lebanon. So it's not officially a ground incursion per se, but
Yes.
multiple foreign press outlets with reporters that are on the ground are reporting on loud blasts being heard in Beirut. And this is after Israel has ordered for evacuation in 3 different areas. And the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, they have announced that they have carried out, or they are in the process of carrying out, limited, localized, and targeted attacks on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. So
Yes,
that is
yes.
the state of things as they stand.
Well, thank you for the update. And now we're going to jump into our first Waggle Waggle story. Internet comment sections, very interesting place. Sometimes, like, even more interesting than the story itself. Sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, even amongst all these comments, there are some comments that make you wonder about the person who posted or wrote them. There are suspicions, though, of organized attempts to form, I guess, pro-Chinese public opinion.
Right. So keep in mind that at this point, it is a study and it is substantiated, but these are just suspicions. However, have you like gone on an economy article in the section and seen comments like these on EV articles or YouTube? Quote, who buys Korean cars anymore? Chinese cars have gotten a lot better, unquote. And they're like cheaper and they will tout Chinese vehicles.
Yes.
So these comments may have been written by certain groups within China in an organized effort. So that's key. I mean, of course, for me, for example, on social media, I will like put hearts on an article about Son Heung-min. Or, you know, something Korean.
Yes.
But there's a difference between me doing this as an individual. Also, I would never put down another countries, whomever, versus it being done in an organized
way.
fashion.
Yes.
So this is according to a joint study on Chinese influence and potentially manipulating opinion within competitive industries, conducted by a team at the Catholic Kwangdong University Police Studies and Changwon National University's International Relations Department.
Okay.
So between last July and this August, their team monitored Naver, YouTube, and Nate articles comments, and they found 77 accounts that are suspected to be Chinese based on their username or their IDs, images, or expressions they use that were more, the language was a little off for being native Korean, or they followed specific patterns. So these accounts seem to be divided into two different groups based on, and they were able to do this, by tracing their followers or friends. So they all seem to be connected. They seem to be following each other in two distinctive patterns. So on average, 4% of comments left on articles about electric vehicle batteries and Chinese e-commerce giants, the Alteshi, Ali, Shein, and Temu, they seem to have been written by these specific users.
All right, so let's talk about the kinds of comments they left.
Right. So basically putting down Korean products or companies and talking up their Chinese counterparts. So they also left political comments on certain actions by Korean entities, Korean companies, and criticizing media outlets that were maybe critical of China.
Okay.
So the research team says that this shows potential intent behind these comments, but it does warrant further studies on what kind of impact they had. So this for everyday, for readers, users, consumers of media, it's kind of a lesson into media literacy about, we think comments are individual opinion, but also to, keep in mind of what
but not
could
always.
be. Not always, exactly.
Sometimes they're organized.
Right.
All right. Next, there is a lot of mudslinging in political campaigns, common. But this comment by former President Donald Trump seems to have really crossed the line.
Right, because he said basically Kamala Harris is mentally impaired, and that's not sitting well with a lot of people. And he said it twice. I think that's the issue.
Yes.
So at a rally in Pennsylvania on Sunday local time, former President Donald Trump said, and I'm quoting him, Joe Biden became mentally impaired. It's sad, but whom he called lying Kamala Harris, and he continues to mispronounce her first name.
I know, it's Kamala Harris. He calls
Kamala.
Kamala. He keeps on doing it on purpose. Come on.
Right, which is such a shady way to,
he's gaslighting her.
Yeah, but Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's Kamala.
Quote, honestly, he says, I believe she was born that way. That way, being mentally impaired. And this is actually a repeat of what he said in Wisconsin the night before, where he once again reiterated that point.
Yes.
Basically, why would that ever come up? Well, he was blaming Harris for the illegal immigration issue and said only a, quote, mentally disabled person, unquote, would have allowed it to happen to the country.
Why is he dissing people who might be mentally impaired, though?
Exactly. So this is very controversial, even within his own circle, even Republicans asking him to pull back. So one of his biggest allies, Senator Lindsey Graham, even told Trump to focus on what he's good at. So going about a very nice way to say that. But Republican former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who's famous in South Korea because, he's like the national son-in-law. He's an outspoken Trump critic, even refused Trump's endorsement in the Senate race, said that Trump's comments are insulting not only to the vice president, but to people who actually have mental disabilities. Which, yes.
Okay, let's move on to our next Woggle issue, because I'm getting antsy just because I can't say much. All right, so let's go back to one of the most dealt topics on Woggle. Parking villains.
Right. At one point, I do want to do a statistical analysis of what kind of stories we cover the most. I feel like parking is a very
DUI or
DUIs, of course,
driving related.
Right.
Yes.
So cars just somehow it irks people. So according to a post on a very well-known online vehicle and car community, it said, "Help! This individual is privatizing our parking lot." So what happens? Well, they live at an apartment complex in Chungnam.
Okay.
But another resident, number one, uses 2 parking stalls for 1 car. So parks in the middle of the 2. And then when the writer lodged a complaint to the apartment management office, because that person has done that repeatedly, they often do.
Yes.
And then when they pull their car out of the stalls
Right.
in the morning, they will put up cones. They will reserve the spot.
Is that the photo?
That is the photo. Yeah.
I think I've mentioned this young neighbor of mine many a times. He has 2 supercars, and he does that for each of his supercar.
I'm gonna call him like Casey. Lives in the same apartment as one of my closest friends, and like we have bonded over this bleep who does the same thing. And because I like casually mentioned, oh, you know that like. I mentioned the car name, and
he's
Casey
like,
said, "Oh, that guy." Yeah,
I know him.
Well, the guy, but
Yeah,
choice
the guy.
words,
Right.
So, I mean, but the cones, that's
cones,
next level, which
yes.
is how this person made it onto our story. So, banning
Okay.
people from parking there.
Yes.
So, you know, the apartment office, because it's private property, so they cannot ticket them or fine them. So, what they'll do in Korea is they will like super glue a very thin layer of a ticket, but like. It's just a warning sign, but
But I
it's
hear
super
that's
glued.
really
it's
difficult
on
to get-
there.
yeah,
it is
like,
on
get
there. So
off.
we're like basically shaming you or like
Yes.
inconveniencing you out of doing that behavior. They did that, didn't deter them. Another case, same person. There was a day when that underground parking garage was going through like deep cleaning with the lot being hosed down.
Okay.
But that person had taped off, quote, their stall and said, no water cleaning here. So he's like he or she is staking claims. What's more, that person doesn't live in that particular building.
What?
They are a resident of the complex.
Oh.
But because, you know, there are areas like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
front
yeah.
of, they don't live
In that particular building?
No.
Why are they parking there?
I don't know. That's
By the
such
way,
a great
Haley,
question.
this isn't your apartment. Like you're not like
No,
just
no,
like
no.
pet peeving.
No,
for
I'm
your
not.
personal-
But it's just these are
Okay.
very yeah. It's just interesting. But I mean, every apartment has a person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, every apartment has like that car, and
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
knows
yeah.
that car.
That car.
Yeah, and you roll your eyes. So this went viral, and
Yes.
when journalists reports made inquiries, the car's owner said, "Oh well, I don't do this anymore. I don't know. We'll have to see." And they said they're building at a parking shortage. That's why they were parking at a different building. But if you were like, say, pushed out because of a parking shortage, why would you take up 2 spots? Is my
'Cause
question.
You are adding to the problem.
You are the problem. And they
Yes.
said they will, quote, discuss the matter with my family members and take necessary measures if possible. Like, that's so passive. Like, so
Right.
you're going to, okay. All right.
Yes.
By the way, and this is the reason that I get so heated and the
Okay.
reason this is so common is, well, in the last 4 years, there were 76,000 complaints made to the public civil services app 국민신문고 just about apartment parking. And these are people who are fed up enough that they're asking for like public help. So, I mean, I can only imagine the unreported problems.
You know, I also have a very selfish reason why I park always within those white lines.
Yeah.
I don't know if
You don't want to get door dinged?
Not just a door ding, but also I hear like if something happens, like even for to be covered by insurance properly, if you're not within
Right, the lines.
you might
Yeah.
not be fully covered if something
That's
does
a good
happen.
point.
So do it for your own protection.
That's true.
right. So that's just be selfish and
Many
park
reasons.
in your own space. All
Right.
Lastly, there was a bread and pastries festival in Daejeon over the weekend, but apparently people who went there spent more time standing in lines than anything else.
Right. So waivers, Catherine, everyone, how long are you willing to wait in line for
Like,
food?
what's your maximum time?
I've waited for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
What
it was
was
like
it
recent.
for?
It was for jjampong. It was recently my family went to.
jjampong?
Guys, you
An
guys,
hour and a half
but
for
hear
jjampong?
hear me out. I mean, what else was I? We were on a trip. We were on our
Yes.
Chuseok trip across Jeollado.
Ah, okay.
We went to Kunsan, this famous jjampong place.
Uh-huh.
But then it's like, well, we're like set on having jjampong, the hot seafood Chinese style noodles for
Yes.
lunch. But like, every place is going to be crowded. You know, every place is going to be crowded, and we're here to. Like, we're here to eat, basically. Like, we're on a trip. Like, what else are we going to do? Like,
Food tour.
I'm not going to go and, like,
Yes.
work. So let's just sit here and chill. We all had books. We all carry books. So we're just like, yeah. And we went and got some, like, convenience store drinks. And we had, like, the little mini fans. It's an experience. But other people, it's a big no-no. It's like, why would you? Why would you waste your time? To each their own. I
Yes.
will save a spot in line for you. But Daejeon, of course, the Bread City.
It
The
is.
city of bread, thanks to
Yes.
that famous local franchise. It's been holding bread festivals pretty much every year. But this year's may have been particularly popular because social media posts showed lines extending several hundreds of meters. People saying that they waited 2 to 3 hours
For bang?
because
Is that
yeah, that's it. That's like it's not a rally. It's a rally for
so
bread.
not me.
It's a rally for bang. I'm
rally
like,
for bang?
I mean, I may have,
I love bread, but I don't know. Waiting in.
but then it's also like you could say it's an experience because what else are you gonna
But
do
you
like
know
on a
what?
weekend?
If I were single or like, newly dating, that might be fun.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
rubbing up or holding hands with your
So, but the thing is, because
that
it's
might be
not
fun.
just about local
Yeah.
companies, there were other like popular bakeries from across the country that you wouldn't have been able to
Okay,
get
okay. It
right.
makes sense.
Right. So internet comments, I mean, that was funny. This was more entertaining than the article.
What did they say?
It was like this was like the 7th cycle of bread hell in Dante's Inferno, things like that. And they said that they've been there before, but it was never this bad or this popular. But it is what it is.
But it depends who you go with.
That it's really true. That's
Yes,
true. Also,
meaning,
whether
like-
you have a full battery on your
That's
phone.
true. Yes. And like, if you're, anyhow, we digress.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to call it a day for Wagga Wagga. We'll check in with you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
Everybody, this was Haley. Back to you, the waivers for our traffic and weather. It is now time for your weather report because guess what? Traffic-wise, the roads are fairly open across the city. It is currently 22 degrees under partially cloudy skies. The daytime high will go up to 29 degrees today. So more clouds are coming in the afternoon. Right now, we're having some nice wispy clouds. Looking at the weather across the nation, rain's going to come down in the capital area and it's going to expand towards the south later on in the day. That's us. The temperatures will drop considerably tomorrow after the rain. This was your weather report. And this is Gloria by Laura Branigan, requested by Benny.
Gloria, you're always on the run now, running after somebody. You gotta get him somehow. I think you got to slow down.
Welcome back, everybody. So I was checking out some of your messages, especially on a day off like today. Well, apparently most of you don't sleep in on a day off, because I was asking you, do you sleep in versus you wake up around the same time versus you wake up earlier than usual? And surprisingly, many of you said I wake up earlier than usual. I was expecting to see like, oh, I sleep in or I wake up around the same time. But like even Taejin was saying, I tend to wake up earlier than usual on, my day off. So apparently I think he's already at some like kimbap place asking us have we had breakfast. And some of you already had breakfast, like Benny, his breakfast for today. Apparently he had, let's see, it was like eggs and, I had bacon and sunny side up fried eggs today. Ooh. And he was so specific. Bacon was done in the air fryer. Can't live without the air fryer these days, right? I mean, everything, you can just throw it in and not worry about it. So, and in terms of other people, I think that just by the fact that you tune into our early morning show, and if you're tuning in today, even on your day off, that means you probably wake up at the same time or maybe even wake up earlier than usual. So I do want to thank you for tuning in and texting in and being so lively, even on a holiday like today. All right, so we are going to get to our special interview. Men, are you listening? I hope you are, because this interview may be for you. We're in the season of autumn or fall. It's often called the season of men, especially here in Korea. Rolling in, maybe we feel this familiar sense of loneliness. For too long, guys have been told to kind of be, tough, to kind of suck it up, keep your feelings hidden, at least past generations, right? Which sometimes I think, doesn't that make things harder? Well, even people like Justin Bieber, he's been very open about his struggles with mental health, showing that no one is immune to this, but it doesn't have to stay that way. And I hope that you are open to this conversation. We have today on air with us to delve deeper into being lonely, Dr. Alvin Thomas, who's an associate professor of Human Development and Family Studies and the Phyllis Northway Faculty Fellow at the School of Human Ecology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Let's see what he has to say. Hi, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, so first of all, Professor, can you explain what this actually means? Loneliness, that feeling of loneliness versus this loneliness epidemic that might actually be happening for men out there.
So I think when people think of loneliness, they assume it means that you're alone. You could actually be in the middle of a crowd and still be lonely. It's that feeling of disconnectedness, not being connected to a group of people or to any particular collection of people that makes you feel part of a group or part of a family or whatever that group is, of course, usually outside of your family. That distance, that social isolation that we kind of, or most of us experienced during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes. It's a little bit like that, but it's a little bit more intense than that, because it's this ongoing feeling of you're doing this by yourself. There's no support system. There's no connection to people, or if there are any connections, it feels very surface level. Almost feels like you're a lone wolf, even though you're in the middle of a group.
I think that's a great point that you make, Professor, that once again, it's not just being physically alone. You could be part of a group but still feel that way. And what are some of the main reasons? Are there like triggers as to why someone may feel this way?
So I think it depends on individuals. So each individual might have a different reason as to why they feel lonely.
Okay.
Some people have very low level of depressive symptoms that's their trait, depressive symptoms. Other people, it's a major change in their life. So you move to a new city, a new area, and you've not quite yet built your social support network. and your previous social support network is so far from you that you feel disconnected from them, even though you might still be connected with them via the internet or some other means, but that close personal contact is missing.
Yes.
Other individuals just have this more more like a not very externalizing in the way they interact with the world.
Sure. So when we talk about loneliness, if we had to do a little bit of a comparison between men and women, do you think men are less likely than women to ask for help if they are or reaching out, even if they're feeling lonely, or if it gets to the point where it's a little bit serious, to ask for help when they feel like, oh, maybe I need some professional help?
Our cultures value competitiveness,
Yes.
value the ability to take charge, aggressive, to have everything together, to be invincible, so that feeling of invincibility. So the flip of that is anything that resembles vulnerability is automatically assumed to be feminine, to be anti-masculine, and to be nothing that you'd want to be associated with if you have these very hyper masculine connections. Because of that, things like practices like seeking out help, talking about your feelings, talking about something that you're going through, talking about a difficulty or a challenge is less likely to be supported, more likely to be stigmatized for men than it is for women.
And so in terms of that, what you just said, Professor, about the whole idea of like masculinity and the competitive nature of just our world, and kind of like for maybe our parents' generation, or even for some of our listeners out there, that kind of just be a man, suck it up, like kind of that kind of mentality. Isn't that can that not be toxic though for men who might really need that extra help or need some counseling?
I like how you mention it, because I've heard the phrase toxic masculinity,
Yes.
at least the title toxic masculinity, and I have some issue with the title. But I like how you phrase it. You talk about these very specific behaviors
Yes.
and modes of thinking that is toxic, not the masculinity per se. Because my concern is if we start calling things toxic masculinity, it's not a thing that can be changed if it's toxic. It has to be done away with, and you can't just do away with masculinity. It is part of identity. So I think of it more as unhealthy masculinity, because it means that if it's unhealthy, we can make it healthy.
Yes.
If it's toxic, it's toxic. Right? And so, yes, those elements of those unhealthy masculine practices can have very negative effects. Now, there's this weird thing that's also happening where, because women are becoming more and more integrated into the workforce,
Yes.
the workforce is by nature very masculine, competitive, hyper masculine at that. And so you have a lot more women now either exhibiting some of those same some of those same quote unquote toxic traits or unhealthy traits, and suffering some of those same challenges, and sometimes finding themselves isolated as well. But in large measure, we're seeing this pandemic affecting men more because men have fewer resources and fewer outlets than women do.
And I'm thinking, Professor, as you were saying this, obviously you say many women in the workforce. I'm a working mom. Many people are in the workforce. But, sometimes, especially here in Korea, many times the husband or the man is oftentimes the main provider, so-called, the breadwinner of the family. Does that make them sometimes maybe feel more isolated, more like thinking, I have to hold it together because I'm the main provider, and that means I have to be stronger, not just necessarily masculine, but just stronger for my family, and maybe just could be very burdensome on their mental health, I'm thinking.
Yes. So part of it is that boys are born into these unspoken social roles.
Yes.
Girls are also born into unspoken social roles. So the expectation is that you will be married, you'll have children, you'll have a husband, and you'll go on to take care of your family.
Sure.
And for boys, it's that you'll grow up, you'll have a family, and you're expected to be the provider and the protector.
Sure.
And by provider, we mean financially. We're not often thinking emotionally. That's going to be your wife's job. You're just responsible for making sure nobody messes with your family and that your family never goes without.
Yes.
Those are some very high bars. And it also means that other parts of who you are, nurturing, caring parts, do not have any highlight in both in your roles and in your identities.
And oftentimes you mentioned the words like caring and nurturing. Nowadays, I think it is much more acceptable for dads to be portrayed that way, and they are that way. However, sometimes still kind of like if you're seen as being too overly caring or too nurturing, maybe kind of not too masculine or maybe a little effeminate.
Yes, yeah, but that is true. But we are seeing some pushback where men are redefining what it means to be a man. And are starting to embrace their full selves. So recognizing that every human being, regardless of identity, ethnicity, or demography, every human being has a full gamut of emotions, from anger to enjoyment to frustration to overwhelmed to depressed to sad to overjoyed and everything in between.
Yes.
And to limit men to anger versus joy is to suggest that any form of humanity in between that spectrum disappears for men.
I see.
That cannot be healthy.
So going back to this whole, so we're not going to call it toxic masculinity, but unhealthy masculinity now. How do we change this though?
So the first thing that has to happen is that we have to teach our boys differently.
Okay.
If we're going to change what the narrative looks like, we can't just start with the men. We also have to start with the boys. So we start with where we are, and we start with what's coming down the pike, which is our children.
Sure.
Allow our children to embrace the fullness of their humanity. So a little boy gets hurt and he cries, it is okay for that to happen.
Sure.
Because that is how you show that there's a connection to the experience.
I see.
And what do you do after that? What do you do with that experience beyond it? So making sure that we're educating our children and that's regardless whether boys or girls.
Yes, yes.
Supporting mental health, especially for our men, supporting the idea that there's space for having conversations. But to do that, we have to rethink how we're doing mental health. The common conversation, the common refrain is that men aren't likely to come talk about their feelings.
Right.
Men aren't likely to talk about these issues. Men aren't likely to seek help. I think that that's not 100% true. I think that men are speaking, but the culture of our healthcare systems, the way that we've been trained, it's not to listen in the same way that men are expecting us to listen. So they're telling us things and we're not hearing, we're not seeing. So there has to be some paradigm shift in our mental health systems that very specifically and deliberately brings in the voices and stories of men, creating those spaces and challenging stereotypes. So if you're a man who's beginning to have those conversations with yourself and your children and your family,
yes,
challenging your peers, your friends, your father, your other male counterparts, when you hear the stereotype being thrown around, whether it be for a boy or for a full-grown adult male, challenging any of those stereotypes you hear about how to express feeling, how to express and embrace vulnerability.
Yes, yes. So speaking of all of these issues, Professor, about these emotional struggles that men obviously have, what are some good ways to create kind of these safe spaces, these opportunities, as you say, to really listen, to hear, to see, even though they might be emitting these signals, maybe we're not necessarily picking up on these signals. So what can we do to create these safe spaces?
So one of the things that I've done over the last couple of years is to try to translate some of the research that I do to about men and fatherhood into language that the ordinary man could understand.
Right.
So the Black Fatherhood podcast, for instance, has been going on for about 2 years, very well received across the U.S. And across the world for speaking very specifically about the experiences of Black fathers, from co-parenting to mental health to financial literacy to outdoors activities, fishing and camping and hiking, everything, art. Everything that a Black father would likely experience, that a Black family could likely experience. And the reason for doing the podcast was not just to do a nice, successful podcast, but it was to create information that fathers, that men themselves could connect to and create for themselves conversation groups. So 3, 4, 5 of us listen to a podcast on our own, and either while we're playing basketball or we're fishing or we're doing something else, we're talking about what we heard on the podcast, what we agreed with, what we disagreed with. So it creates space where men can talk about not their emotions first, but kind of disconnect it and talk about, well, what does this mean?
I see.
And then because we were having the conversation, well, man, that sounds like something I went through some years ago. And so slowly but surely, you start changing the culture and the conversation patterns around some of these issues of vulnerability.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining us today to talk about these issues so important, affecting the lives of many people out there, but especially men as well. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This was Dr. Alvin Thomas, and we talked about loneliness, especially for men today.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It is now time for The Health, and guess who's back? Yay, Bonnie's back. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you.
Good to
I'm
see you.
good.
Hey, so I have a question for you. Text topic. We're talking about on a day off, let's say not today, because obviously you had to come to radio.
Yeah.
On a day off, like a real true day off, do you tend to wake up at the same time versus wake up later than usual, meaning like sleep in, versus wake up earlier than usual?
Oh.
And surprisingly, some of our
Definitely not earlier.
Not earlier. Okay, you're like, no. Hard no on that. Okay.
I usually wake up at the same time, but I'll then go back to sleep usually. If I don't have anything to do, nothing on the schedule, I usually wake up at the same time, but then I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to do. And I'll allow myself an extra like 30, 40 minutes.
Has everyone gotten out their like fall or winter blankets? Has everybody transitioned over? Not yet?
Not yet. I just got back to Korea like a couple of days ago.
Oh, so not yet.
I'm surprised it's still so warm. I thought it was going to be colder.
So we were hoping.
Yeah.
But hey, wait just a couple days after the rain. Maybe tomorrow.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm excited to get the blankets out there. Like the door is open. I want to get them
please,
out.
Please. All right, let's get into our topic. What are we talking about?
Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about this topic that has been trending on articles from Forbes, Newsweek, CNN, Washington Post. They are all claiming that travel can actually reverse the aging process and keep us young.
Let's go right now.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the waivers.
So, Pini, I wasn't on vacation. I was actually just doing research for this episode.
It was just research.
Yes, I was just doing research for 3 weeks. Very, very into this topic. So this all stemmed from a study that was done at Edith Cowan University in Australia. And it was published by the Science Daily in August. And so it kind of made all these people think about this because real study came out with real research, and they said how positive traveling experiences can help maintain a body's low entropy or gradual decline of aging. So the researchers found that a lot of the lifestyle practices that people have on vacations match those that which mental health experts also contribute to a healthy and happy life. So some of these practices I'll cover, and I'll also put in my own travel experience, and you can add in yours as well.
Sure.
But the first is social engagement. So I don't know what it is, but when you are traveling, sometimes you are more open to being able to talk to people. So you're talking to locals, maybe you're talking to other tourists, other travelers, especially if you're traveling to a foreign country and you don't speak the language. When you do hear the language that you do speak, it's like, oh, I speak that language too. Where are you from?
Oh, exactly.
Right? Oh, like, how long have you been traveling? And you start having these conversations, which usually, you know, if I'm having dinner or a meal out here, I'm not going to the next table. Hey, what are you having? Oh, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do tomorrow?
Because people would be looking at you like...
Yeah, and you don't want to be
You're so
bothered when you're
weird.
eating usually, right? In your home country.
True.
But when you're traveling, there's something about, you know, like the excitement and
openness, kind of, right?
Yeah. So I'm maybe a much more friendlier person. But I realized, I noticed random people would start conversation with me, and I would be happy to have conversation with them. I actually got some great traveling tips from people. But even eating at a meal, you know, the table next to me was like, oh, I really suggest that you have this. It was so good. It was one of their starters. And then we started talking, and we ended up being from California, the same state.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we started talking.
That's the best.
Yeah, and having this whole conversation. But do you feel that way when you're on vacation?
I am a completely different person. Like, okay, the morning wave in Busan cat versus the teaching at school cat, that's a different persona, versus me, like, off-duty cat in Busan, that's a different cat.
Yeah.
But when I am out of the country or somewhere far, far away, away from Busan, where I know nobody will know me or recognize my voice, I'm a completely different person. I let my hair down.
Yeah.
It's so like, it's a different me.
Yeah, it's kind of invigorating. You're open to so many more things.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yes, I
agree.
I agree. So the second practice is appreciating nature. So usually when you're traveling, you're there to see the landscapes. It's something different that you've never seen before.
Okay.
You want to see that mountain. You want to see that lake, that river. Maybe you've seen a million mountains before, but you're in a new place. So you're going to seek out those things.
Sure.
And a lot of those things are in nature. So being out in nature, of course, helps to alleviate stress. You're practicing gratitude. You know, like I said, you've seen a million mountains, but when I was traveling around, I was in Switzerland looking at these mountains like,
Switzerland?
Yes.
So jealous.
I had so much gratitude. I was like, oh, I've seen mountains before, but these mountains are so
different.
beautiful. They're different. I'm in a different place. So I was practicing
Swiss
a lot of
Alps.
gratitude in that. Even things like lakes or rivers, streams, you know, I've seen a million streams, but for some reason when you're traveling, you're like, that's the most beautiful stream ever. I'm taking pictures of all the streams. So you're practicing gratitude for this nature.
Right.
And it leads to the next healthy practice, walking exercise. So when you are traveling, you are probably getting in more steps than you would when you're at home. So I was tracking my steps every day, and I was 15, maybe 20,000 steps, which is definitely more than I get on my regular day here in Busan. And you're taking public transportation. You know, when you're traveling, you're trying to see all the sights. You're going from one place to the next to the next. And lots of times you're usually walking, but also you're more open to doing other leisurely travel activities like biking, maybe hiking, maybe swimming if you're somewhere the weather is nice. So you're doing more of these activities, helping to keep your circulation pumping, your metabolism is increasing, which is also great for your immunity.
Yes.
So these things are all contributing to maybe keeping you young.
I agree. So people are like very chatty on our on our board. Like we have a Misuk waiver who says, can traveling make you younger? Nope, not when you're traveling with your in-laws. Oops. I said it for you.
Yes, it is depending on the situation,
and who you're with.
and who you're with,
Very
definitely.
important.
Maybe you need to separate some time away from people when you're traveling.
Yes.
Yeah, so strategic. Be strategic about your
Drift
travel.
Monkey. Sounds like Bonnie had a great time away. That was much needed. They hear it in your voice.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Maybe I need to go away again. I was just doing research. It was research,
Our
not
producer's like-
vacation.
she's like just looking at you like,
It was research.
really?
Well, so there's another fourth practice to this traveling lifestyle that keeps you young: nutritious meals. Now, this one I kind of feel like it was very, very situational, dependent on where you are.
Yes.
But a lot of times when you are traveling to a place, you're traveling and you're wanting to try the local cuisine. A lot of time, local cuisine includes local produce.
Yes.
And depending on where you go, let's say you're going to a Mediterranean country, really great, healthy food practices over there.
Yum.
Also, if you're in like a tropical area, you tend to eat the fruit more because that's the fruit that you can't get in your home country.
Sure.
So you're tending to kind of go into the local markets, trying local produce. So this can be healthier than what you are used to, but also, you know, when I'm on vacation, I tend to eat a lot more. So I don't know if that is actually healthier. But a lot of people usually
But you're moving around so much, probably.
Yeah.
It all balances
That's
out.
what
I'm
I
sure.
think,
Yes.
too.
Yes. That's what we all want to believe.
So there are multiple other travel benefits, of course, besides the ones I just shared. But people tend to be more relaxed, of course, because you're on vacation. You're not thinking about work. You know, you're
Sure.
going on vacation to kind of get away from the daily to-do list that you have. So most of the time, you should be more relaxed. Your stress levels decrease, and you're having these new life experiences. You're meeting new people. So when you're coming in contact with unfamiliar circumstances, your metabolism goes up, you're increasing your overall health, you're improving your immunity, you're outside, and your actual brain neurons are like firing off new little systems because you're trying something new and you're somewhere new that you've never been. So it's actually really good for your mental health as well.
As you were saying this in my mind, I drifted a little because I was thinking on my next trip, I need to go like not with my roommate, but with like girlfriends or something. No, the reason. Let me tell you, there's a reason.
Okay.
I love my roommate. Bless his soul. Honey, I love you. But he doesn't like going, he doesn't like travel, like walking about and trying street foods and like trying, like he wants to go to the nice hotel dinner.
Yeah.
And then to like a nice show. He wants to show me like the finer things in life.
Yes.
But I want to go like barefoot.
Yeah.
And like, I want to walk around at night. And he's like, it's too dangerous. We might get mugged.
Yeah, so who you go with, I do think
it's really
that's a big factor as well. But I do think, you know, this trip, I did a lot of soloing more than I usually would because I went with my mom and she can't do most of like the hiking trails and things. And I actually really enjoyed the solo.
The solo part
I've
of
never
it?
been on an actual solo trip.
No, it's good.
And I actually really enjoyed it. Like I could do what I wanted to, when I wanted to, for how long I wanted to. So it kind of inspired me to take more maybe solo trips later on.
Yes.
I'm open to it now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so, anything else that we should keep in mind as we wrap up our discussion today?
Well, I want to also note that, yes, there are positive. So the whole study was on positive traveling experiences.
Okay.
But there are like negative traveling experience. I don't want to say like all travel is so stress-free. You know, there are definitely things that we have to think about when we're traveling that can be negative.
Yes.
So, you know, obviously infectious diseases are transmitted during travel. There are food and water safety issues. Sometimes you have less access to proper health care.
That's
all of these
true.
things are factors that we need to think about as well. But, you know, first, Post.com said in their article, travel therapy could serve as a groundbreaking health intervention.
Travel therapy.
Yes.
That's
So I
great
think
way.
it's about changing our perception about travel as just being something fun and just something recreational and leisurely, but actually thinking about it as a mental health practice, as something that is good for our health, our well-being. And maybe if we think of it this way, people are more likely to do more of it.
I'm still on the solo trip part. My mind hasn't recovered.
Maybe we can start prescribing this.
Yes. I need it.
Yes.
Stat.
Yes.
My doctor
It's a
said
medical.
travel therapy needed.
Yes.
Well, thank you for this. This is really, really fascinating. I'm glad that you're back.
Oh, thank you. Me
and
too.
we will definitely check in with you next week. Thank you, Bonnie.
Yes, thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Well, it is time to wrap up. And so many of you talking about taking solo trips. And yes, Leslie, we're in the same boat. We all need solo trips. Do we not? Well, we're going to end it with 여행 by 볼빨간 사춘기. So I hope you have a wonderful day and please join me tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
오늘 떠나요 공항으로 핸드폰 꺼나요 제발 널 찾지 말아줘 시끄럽게 소리를 질러줘 어쩔 수 없어 난